Growing up in a small town with folks who believed in hard work over anything fancy, I was your typical girl next door, Margie. My family wasn't rich, but we were happy, and they instilled in me the value of hard work from a young age. After college, chasing a slice of independence, I moved to a bigger city, a place that felt like a different world. It was there my life took a turn I never saw coming. I landed a job as a sales manager at a big company, which was a big deal for a small-town girl like me. The job was demanding, but I thrived on the challenge. Unlike my peers, who were all about hitting the clubs after work, I was more likely to be found curled up with a book or working overtime. That was until David walked into my life. David was everything I didn't know I was looking for. He was charming, with a smile that could light up the darkest rooms, and a sense of humor that could make anyone laugh. We met through work, and what started as casual coffee breaks turned into long dinners, and before I knew it, I was head over heels. I can't believe how lucky I am, I remember telling him one evening as we walked along the river, the city lights reflecting like stars in the water. "Believe it, Margie. You're the best thing that's happened to me," he said, his hand finding mine. It wasn't long before we got married. It was a simple ceremony, nothing too fancy, just how we liked it. Our daughter, Lily, came into our lives not long after, and suddenly, our little family felt complete. Life was good. David and I found joy in the simple things. We'd take Lily out on weekends with our mobile home, exploring the outskirts of the city, or sometimes just walking in the park, letting her chase the pigeons while we walked hand in hand. But it wasn't all play. Balancing work and family life was tough. After Lily was born, I switched to working half days to be there for her more. David was supportive, always saying, "Do what you need to, babe. We'll make it work." And we did. We were a team, tackling household chores together, making meals, and taking care of Lily. David's parents were a big help too. They adored Lily and were always there when we needed a hand. "You two are doing great," David's mom would often say. "It's not easy, but you're making it look like it is." It felt like we had everything figured out. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. One evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, David mentioned working late more often. "The project's picking up steam. Gonna need to put in extra hours," he said, almost apologetically. I understood, or at least I tried to. "We'll manage. Just don't work yourself too hard," I replied, trying to keep the worry out of my voice. The shift was gradual, like the slow buildup of clouds before a storm, unnoticed until the downpour is upon you. David's late nights became more frequent, and the warmth that used to fill our home started to cool. I tried to shrug it off, telling myself it was just the stress of his job. But deep down, I knew something was off. Lily started asking more about her dad. "Why isn't Daddy home for dinner?" Her innocent questions were like punches to my gut. I did my best to soothe her. "Daddy's got to work, sweetie. He'll be home soon." But the soon stretched longer and longer. One day, I got held up at work, something I couldn't avoid. I called David, hoping he could pick up Lily from school. His reaction was like a slap across my face. "What do you mean you're stuck? Can't you see I'm swamped? Handle your own mess," he snapped over the phone, before hanging up. Tears stung my eyes, not just from his words, but from the shock of hearing him talk to me like that. I'd never seen this side of him. Panicking, I called his mom. "Hey, it's me. I'm in a bind. Can you grab Lily from school?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course, dear. Is everything all right with David?" she replied, concern evident in her voice. "Yeah, just work stuff." "Thanks, I owe you one," I managed, feeling a mix of relief and embarrassment. As days turned into weeks, David's detachment grew. He wasn't just absent physically, but emotionally too. Our home felt like a house with no life in it. I tried talking to him, reaching out, trying to bridge the gap that kept widening between us. "David, we need to talk. This whatever this is, it's not working. Lily misses you, I miss you, I said one night, mustering all the courage I had. He barely looked at me, his eyes glued to his phone. What do you want from me, Margie? I'm here, aren't I? Just tired, that's all. He muttered, his tone dismissive. But that's just it, you're here but not really. You don't talk to us, to me. What's going on? I pressed, desperate for any crumb of affection or concern. Nothing's going on. Drop it, he snapped, standing up to leave the room. His indifference was a bitter pill to swallow. I lay awake that night, listening to the silence of our home, a stark contrast to the laughter and love that used to fill it. The change in David wasn't just hurting me, it was affecting Lily too. She became quieter, her bright spark dimming with each day her father pushed us away. It wasn't just the emotional distance, David stopped helping around the house altogether. Tasks we used to share now fell squarely on my shoulders. I felt like a single parent. Why doesn't Daddy play with me anymore? Lily's voice broke through my thoughts one evening as I washed the dishes. I turned to her, forcing a smile. Daddy's just busy, honey. But we can play, what do you say? Your choice of game, I offered, trying to mask the ache in my heart. She nodded, a small smile on her lips, but her eyes were searching, looking for the father she adored and missed. The divide between us grew, and with it, my loneliness. I turned to David's parents for support, spending more time at their place just to feel some connection to the man I married. They noticed the change too, but were at a loss on how to help. It's just a rough patch, dear. Every marriage has them. David's mom tried to reassure me, but her eyes told a different story, one filled with concern and uncertainty. As the days passed, the silence in our home grew louder, a stark reminder of the rift between David and me. I clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, things could go back to how they were. In a desperate attempt to break through the ice that had formed around us, I planned a surprise. I bought tickets to a local music show, thinking it could reignite the spark we once had. The moment I told David about the surprise, his reaction was far from what I had hoped for. A music show? Seriously, Margie? You know I'm swamped with work. I don't have time for this, he said, barely looking up from his laptop. But it's been ages since we did something as a family. Lily would love it, and I thought it could be a nice break for us, together, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the hurt his words caused. Great, another thing to add to my never-ending to-do list. Thanks, but I'll pass. You two go and have fun, he said dismissively, turning his attention back to his work. I stood there, feeling like a fool. The rejection stung, not just because he didn't want to go, but because it felt like he didn't want to spend time with us at all. Lily, sensing the tension, came over and tugged at my hand. Is Daddy not coming with us, Mommy? She asked, her big eyes filled with confusion. I forced a smile, bending down to her level. It's just going to be a girls' night out. We'll have fun, just you and me, I said, trying to sound more excited than I felt. Lily nodded, though I could tell she was disappointed. It broke my heart to see her having to adjust to this new version of her father. As David's absences became more frequent, I found myself fighting a lonely battle to keep our family together. He started leaving for the entire weekend, claiming work demanded it. Another weekend? David, this is getting ridiculous. You're never home anymore. Lily keeps asking about you. I confronted him one evening. Look, I don't need this right now, Margie. Work is crazy, and I'm doing the best I can. Maybe if you were a little more understanding instead of constantly nagging, things would be better, he retorted, his words dripping with annoyance. Nagging? I'm trying to have a conversation about our family, about us. You're hardly here, and when you are, you're like a ghost. How is that fair to Lily or me? I shot back, my frustration boiling over. Just leave it, Margie. You wouldn't understand, he said before walking out, leaving me standing there, fuming and feeling more alone than ever. The evenings he claimed to spend with colleagues stretched later and later, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more he wasn't telling me. The loneliness was suffocating, and I found solace in the only place I could, with Lily and David's parents. During one of our dinners at David's parents' house, his mother noticed my subdued mood. "Margie, dear, you barely touched your food. Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice full of concern. I hesitated, not wanting to burden her with my problems, but the words spilled out. I feel like I'm losing him, and I don't know what to do. He's always working or out, and when he's home, it's like he's not really here. Lily misses him, and I miss my husband." David's father, who had been quietly listening, chimed in. "Have you tried talking to him, really sitting him down and telling him how you feel?" I let out a humorless laugh. "Talking to David? It's like talking to a wall these days. He doesn't listen, or worse, he gets angry. I'm at my wit's end here." David's increasing late nights and vague excuses pushed me to a decision I never thought I'd make. Hiring a private investigator felt like crossing an invisible line, but the need to understand his actions overshadowed my reservations. Weeks went by with a strange mix of anticipation and dread until the unexpected happened. Our anniversary was approaching, and David surprised me with an invitation to celebrate at an upscale restaurant, promising a weekend together just like old times. I couldn't hide my excitement. "Really, David? Just us, like before?" I asked, hardly believing the shift in his attitude. "Yeah, thought it'd be nice. A break from all the craziness," he replied, his tone casual, almost nonchalant. With renewed hope, I arranged for David's parents to look after Lily, sharing my joyous news. The day arrived with a mix of nerves and excitement. The restaurant was as beautiful as promised, creating a backdrop that felt like a step into our past, a reminder of better days. David was already there, waiting. His gesture of offering me a glass of wine took me by surprise. "Come on, let's celebrate. Just this once," he urged when he saw my hesitation. I laughed, a bit uneasy. "You know I'm not much for drinking, but okay, just this once," I agreed, wanting to make the most of this rare moment between us. The evening was a blur of wine and toasts. David kept filling my glass, each time insisting, "To us." It felt like a dream, our problems momentarily washed away by the ambience and alcohol. But as the night wore on, I felt increasingly unwell, a heaviness dragging me down into a drowsy haze. "David, I don't feel so good. I think I need to lie down," I mumbled, struggling to keep my eyes open. "Don't worry, I got you. Let's get you home," he said, his voice distant as he helped me into the car. The world outside the car window slipped into darkness as I fell into a troubled sleep, only to be jolted awake by a sudden stop. The air was cold, and I was barely conscious when David dragged me out of the car and onto a bench. Through the fog of my mind, I heard his words, sharp and clear, cutting deeper than any knife. "You're just so tiring, Margie. Always there, always expecting so much. I can't do this anymore." His words were a cruel echo in the darkness as I tried to process them, but my body wouldn't cooperate. The world spun, and I felt myself slipping away, his voice the last thing I clung to before darkness claimed me completely. Waking up in the clinic was like trying to piece together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. The pounding in my head matched the confusion swirling through my mind. There, beside me, stood my mother-in-law, her face etched with worry. "You're awake, thank God," she sighed, a hand clutching her heart. "We found you in a bad part of town, no bag, no ID, nothing. What on earth happened?" I tried to sit up, the effort sending waves of nausea through me. I was with David. We had dinner for our anniversary. He said he'd take me home. I managed, the words sounding hollow even to me. Her brows knitted in confusion. "But that can't be. David's been out of town. He called yesterday to check on Lily. Said he was sorry he couldn't be here." That didn't make any sense. My head spun not just from the pain but from the stark disbelief. But he was there, we had dinner, I trailed off, the reality sinking in. My own husband's actions were a mystery, his alibi a lie. The worry in her eyes deepened. Let's get you home. We can sort this out later. How's Lily? That was the first coherent thought I had. My daughter, my little girl, was she okay? She's fine, dear. Been asking for you. Let's get you better so you can see her. She reassured me, helping me to my feet. The days that followed were a blur of rest and whispered conversations. I stayed with my mother-in-law, the atmosphere charged with unasked questions. Once I felt stronger, I knew what I had to do. I called the detective I had hired weeks ago, the one I hoped would shed light on David's mysterious behavior. Margie, I have the report. We need to meet. The detective's voice was grave over the phone, promising answers I wasn't sure I was ready for. I met him at a quiet cafe. The envelope he handed me felt like it weighed a ton. What's in here? My voice was barely a whisper, fear and anticipation battling within me. Take your time with it. It's a lot to process, he cautioned, his eyes not hiding his concern. Back at my mother-in-law's house, I braced myself for the worst. The envelope contained photos, receipts, a detailed account of David's comings and goings, evidence of a life I was not a part of, a betrayal laid bare on paper. My hands shook as I absorbed every word, every image. This was the proof of the lie my marriage had become. The man I thought I knew, the life I thought we had built together, it was all a facade. As I drove to the address the detective had given me, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, but above all, a fierce determination to confront the truth. The evening air felt heavy as I parked outside the nondescript apartment building. With each step towards the door, my resolve hardened. The door was surprisingly unlocked, a foreboding welcome to the scene I was about to witness. Inside, I found them, David and his brightly-haired mistress, lounging as if they owned the world. The shock on David's face upon seeing me was almost satisfying, almost enough to dull the sharp edge of betrayal. So this is the hard work that's been keeping you busy every night, huh? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice, nor did I want to. The woman, with her pink hair and bright suit, just smirked at me, arrogance dripping from every pore. You shouldn't have come here. It would have been easier for you to just disappear, she sneered, making my blood boil. I turned to David, my heart aching with the betrayal. How could you do this? To me, to us? I demanded, though a part of me doubted any answer could ease the pain. She laughed, a sound so cold it sent shivers down my spine. Because you've been in the way of our happiness. We've wanted you gone for a long time, she said, her cruelty cutting deep. But I wasn't there to break. I stood my ground, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I know all about your plans. I'm not here to beg or cry. I've seen the evidence. I know about the poison, and the police do too. I revealed the evidence I had gathered, the blood tests showing the presence of psychotropic substances, the detailed report from the detective outlining David's betrayals, and the video evidence collected by the police that incontrovertibly showed David's attempts to harm me. Their faces fell, but it was the mistress who recovered first. You can't prove a thing. You're out of your depth, she hissed, but her bravado couldn't mask the fear in her eyes. I pulled out my phone, showing them the recordings of their plotting, their plans to get rid of me. It's all here. The police have everything they need. And there's more, much more. David tried to speak, but the woman cut him off, still playing the queen of denial. You think this is over? You think you've won? She spat, but her words were desperate, the threats empty. I faced them both, my heart heavy but my conscience clear. This was never about winning or losing. It's about justice. For me, for anyone you might have tried to hurt after me. You won't get away with it. As I left, their stunned silence was a cold comfort. The night air felt sharper, somehow, as I stepped outside, but I walked away with my head held high. I had confronted the darkest part of my life head-on, not with violence or anger, but with the truth. The courtroom was charged with tension, every eye fixed on the drama unfolding. It was the day of reckoning for David and his mistress, the day their fates would be sealed by the weight of their own deceit. Despite their defiant denials, the evidence spoke louder than their lies. As the prosecutor laid out the evidence, it was like reliving the nightmare all over again. First came the restaurant's security footage, a silent witness to David slipping something into my glass, a betrayal captured in grainy clarity. Then, the city's cameras painted a damning trail, showing David abandoning me in a place no one should ever be alone at night. The final nail in the coffin was the medical reports, undeniable proof of the toxins coursing through my veins, a sinister attempt on my life. David and his mistress sat side by side, a united front in their guilt. Their attempts to brush off the evidence were pathetic, their lies crumbling under the weight of truth. "It's all a misunderstanding," David tried to argue, his voice lacking any conviction. The mistress chimed in, her arrogance undimmed. "That evidence could have been doctored. You have no proof it was us," she sneered, trying to sound confident. But the evidence was irrefutable. The videos, the tests, the detective's thorough investigation, it all pointed to one undeniable conclusion. They were guilty, and justice was about to be served. The judge's gavel was a sound of finality. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented, this court finds the defendants guilty as charged, the judge declared, his voice echoing through the silent courtroom. And then, the financial compensation, it wasn't about the money, not really. It was about accountability, about making them pay in some small way for the havoc they wreaked on my life and my daughter's. Life now is a stark contrast to those shadowed days. My daughter and I have found peace, a new beginning forged from the ashes of our past. Our home is filled with laughter and love, a safe haven that once seemed impossible to reclaim. "We did it, Mommy." My daughter's words are a balm to my soul, her smile the brightest light in my life. "Yes, we did, sweetheart. We're going to be just fine," I assure her, and in my heart, I know it's true. The journey was long and fraught with pain, but standing here now, with my daughter by my side, I'm reminded of the strength and resilience that lies within us. We've weathered the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face the future with hope and courage. David's parents, once figures I respected and admired, showed their true colors in the aftermath. They were devastated by their son's actions, heartbroken by the betrayal and harm he caused. The day they decided to cut ties with him and rewrite their will, leaving everything to Lily, my daughter, was a day I'll never forget. I remember sitting down with them, the air thick with a mix of sorrow and determination. "We can't undo what David did, but we want to make sure Lily is taken care of," they said, their voices steady but filled with an underlying pain. I was taken aback, not just by their generosity, but by their resolve. I don't know what to say. "Lily, she'll have a future now, thanks to you," I managed, my voice choked with emotion. "It's what's right. She's our granddaughter, and we love her. We want to make sure she knows she's not defined by her father's mistakes," they replied, a firmness in their tone that left no room for argument. Life since then has been a series of adjustments, of finding our footing in this new reality. I went back to work full-time, diving into my role with a renewed sense of purpose. Balancing work and being a single mom to Lily hasn't been easy, but it's been our life, and it's been good. My mother-in-law, bless her soul, has been a godsend. She stepped up in ways I couldn't have imagined, becoming not just a caregiver for Lily but a pillar of strength for me. Our bond, forged in the fires of family drama, has become unbreakable. "Lily's lucky to have you, you know." "We both are," I told her one evening as we shared a quiet cup of tea after putting Lily to bed. She waved me off, her usual modest self. "Nonsense. I'm just doing what any grandmother would. Besides, seeing you two happy is all the thanks I need." Our conversations, once filled with the pain and confusion of David's betrayal, now revolve around plans for the future, Lily's latest achievements, and the simple joys of our day-to-day lives. We laugh more, worry less, and cherish the peace that has settled over our home. Lily, growing more each day into a bright and curious young girl, is the light of our lives. She knows she is loved, cherished, and supported, not just by me, but by the extended family that rallied around her. "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be strong like you," Lily said to me one night, her words filling my heart with warmth. "You already are, my love. You're the strongest person I know," I replied, tucking her in, a sense of contentment settling over me.
Sometimes I cannot breathe when you look at me like that. I'm falling in. You don't even have to speak. I'll be calling out your